Calvin Castine at the North Country Chamber of Commerce in Plattsburgh. And it's the first day of February 2019, and we're here for an annual event here, the North Country Business Confidence Index, showing what was happening in 2018 and what's projected for 2019. So Chamber President Gary Douglas will be talking shortly, and we'll find out what's happening in the North Country.
We suddenly had two announcements to make, and we thought about, well, we did one today, we did one on Tuesday, and then we got something on Wednesday, and we got something else on Friday. The two that you're going to hear today really reinforce each other. They're really very much a part of the same story, so we said, let's put them together. So we're going to be back to back. We're going to start by going through the annual issue survey and unveil the Business Confidence Index for 2019, and then we're going to change a few faces up here, and we're going to do a second announcement related to a finding of the economic strength of the Plattsburgh area. So you're going to go away with two bits of good news, and it is all very, very good news. As most of you know, we have for many years conducted an annual issue survey of our actually more than 4,000 members across 5.5 counties, to get a snapshot of their views on issues and matters that are timely, both in Washington and in Albany. And then as part of that, we always ask questions that gauge what we define as the Business Confidence Index, that being a combination of those who believe their business activity, whatever that activity happens to be in their business, is going to be up this year, plus those who believe their business activity is going to remain steady this year, versus those who believe that their business activity may decline this year. We put those top two categories together to give us the Business Confidence Index, and we'll be unveiling that in just a bit for this year. Let me summarize for you the results of the issue survey. We once again had a strong participation rate of 17%, and our top really federal questions revolved around valuing our economic partnership with Canada. If there is a shadow or a cautionary tale out there for the regional business community in potential opposition to the strong degree of continued confidence you're going to see in a few minutes, it is that trepidation about what's happening with the U.S.-Canadian relationship. It was a rough year last year. It isn't over yet. We still have tariffs. We still have an agreement now to actually ratify and approve. And still some things that raise some uncertainty. So we thought it was important this year to take a snapshot of feelings and to ask a couple of specific questions related to elements that are on the agenda for this year. The top question we asked was, do you agree that the U.S.-Canada relationship is working for the North Country and must be supported and preserved as a key to the North Country's current and future economy? Now, Pat has been coming to these since as long as we've been doing it. Have we ever had a 100% response?
Close.
Statistically, we had a 100% response because everybody answered yes except for one individual. So statistically, it's 100%, but it's 100% less one out there who's an outlier somewhere. Maybe they misread the question, who knows. But it gives us, I think, at a very timely point, a reaffirmation in the strongest possible terms we could imagine of the understanding of how important that relationship is to everything else, and to maintaining the confidence that you're also going to see that they've expressed. 97% agree that Congress should approve the updated NAFTA agreement, USMC, whatever you want to call it, NAFTA .2, that needs to be approved by Congress at the earliest opportunity, bringing stability and predictability to the U.S.-Canada economic partnership. 96% agree that a settlement must be reached soon that will end U.S. and Canadian tariffs on steel and aluminum in particular, as well as other materials. That is part of that kind of overhang out there of concern that could go wrong, that could change some of the feelings that are expressed otherwise. It's important to take note of that. On the topic of China, 81% believe the continuation and possible expansion of a tariff-based trade war with China would be harmful to the U.S. economy. 19% believe it would be beneficial. So another kind of warning sign out there, a concern that the business community is watching, that if it went the wrong way, could have an effect on confidence during the coming year. 86% support proposals for a major new federal funding commitment for the nation's infrastructure. That seems to still be a matter of at least some discussion in Washington, so we asked it again, and again found a strong endorsement of that being something that perhaps they can all agree on in Washington. Wouldn't that be nice? It'd be nice to have something. On New York State issues, on the New York State front this year, 92% state that it is time to make the state's 2% property tax cap permanent. We were very pleased the governor has put that in his budget, and that the state Senate, with their new majority, has already passed that, putting 2 of the 3 components in place. I had an opportunity to meet with Andrea Stewart-Cousins last week and to thank her personally for making that one of their early actions. And hopefully this tees things up for the negotiation with the Assembly at some point that will bring that out in a positive way on the other end. 94% believe small business tax relief should be a priority given increasing labor costs and regulations, and that it must include small businesses not organized as corporations. 96% call for greater and more flexible state support for workforce development and training, including partnerships with employers and employer organizations aimed at addressing skill gaps and workforce needs. 93% agree that in light of the enactment of a number of new mandates on employers over the last few years, it is important that no new mandates be imposed on employers this year. 89% oppose the expansion of state prevailing wage mandates, effectively requiring union labor/wages on all projects receiving any state funding or support, including private projects. Had a very fruitful discussion, I believe, with Leader Stewart-Cousins last week on this subject, and I was encouraged at her discussion of this matter in terms of finding the right balance. And we're providing some information on a number of specific example projects that might be threatened if this kind of requirement were imposed. So we'll make that a continued conversation, and it's good to have this expression by the region. 83% ask that the questions and concerns of employers be heard and considered as the state moves toward the potential legalization of recreational marijuana. There obviously are concerns by employers about productivity, about potential increased failure of drug testing by employees, about safety, how might it relate to workplace safety. So we didn't ask, are you in favor, are you opposed? What this is an expression that employers need to be part of the conversation about how this may be defined, how this may be regulated, other things that maybe need to be put in place around this, particularly with our workforce type situation, to not exacerbate that as an unintended consequence. 94% agree that the state should engage in helping to close major cell phone service gaps in the Adirondacks and elsewhere in the North Country. We and some of our Adirondack partners have been discussing with the governor's office since last fall this topic, and we're pleased that as a side note to the governor's state of the state, he has listened, he has heard, he has committed to the appointment of a task force that will look at how the state might play a role in addressing this matter in the Adirondacks. And some of us are meeting in Glens Falls next week to discuss some potential recommendations of people to be on that task force. So we've already seen some progress, and now we have to keep that going and see that maybe by this point next year we might see some funding proposals, we might see some actual programs on the table, as we have seen with broadband in years past that can assist with that. And wouldn't that be a remarkable advance for the entire North Country, particularly the Adirondacks? When asked if New York State should enact a full state takeover of health insurance coverage or focus on reducing state-imposed costs on health care and bringing coverage to those not yet insured, 89% indicate that the state should focus on cost in covering the uninsured. We then asked them to rank the various concerns and issues to get a snapshot of what the priorities are, what the most important things are. Number one, I have to say it was number one by a wide margin before we dropped down to the others, was more support for workforce development and training. So not a surprise. You can talk about all these issues over here, but then there's a real practical day-to-day challenge that North Country employers and employers everywhere are experiencing right now in terms of meeting their workforce needs and they have expressed very strongly that that needs to receive priority attention. Number 2, we have a tie between 2. State support to help close cell phone service gaps. So that's right up there, and avoid additional mandates on employers. And then number 3, make the 2% property tax cap permanent. So those become an expression of the priority matters that the North Country business community would especially like to see the right sorts of actions in the current session. So there's a snapshot. We already are sharing these with our state and federal legislators and other leaders, and we'll be using them from this point forward throughout the year in our advocacy and activities in Albany and Washington and elsewhere on behalf of the North Country economy. And then we come to the North Country Business Confidence Index. Now note we have the sign up here for 2018, in which it was 96%, business going up 75%, business steady 21%. And last year, I know we expressed whether there was any way that could ever be any stronger than that. You reach a point where you can't possibly be more confident and more optimistic about the North Country economy than you are currently. Well, let's see what they said this year. Can we have the unveiling, please? 96%. So a same total, but a little bit of a positive shift amongst those expecting their business to go up. So internally, the number shifted a little bit from business steady to business going up, from 75% to 79%. So son of a gun, in that sense, they did actually find a way to edge a little more to being even a little more optimistic and a little more confident about the future. We believe there are a number of reasons for this. And you're going to see some affirmation in the second announcement that there are some real solid and statistical reasons to be feeling that way out there. But we've seen unemployment as we closed out last year as low as 3.4%, lower than the national and state averages. When have we ever seen that in the history of the North Country? Ever. I don't know if we've ever been lower than national and state averages up here, even at the best of times. 6.4% boost in county sales tax receipts. So that certainly reflects consumer spending as well as Canadian visitation, which we know we managed to keep in a very strong position last year in spite of some challenges and concerns. They came, they saw, they bought, they spent, they returned home, and they're going to come back again. The construction of Norsk Titanium, an exciting project that's underway. You can now physically see it happening. It's reality. That certainly has to feed confidence. Strong tourism performance across the region. Record numbers actually in the state of New York and in the North Country for visitation and tourism spending. In our new air service at Plattsburgh International Airport, United Express, I think there's just a confluence of a number of things that I think provide reasons if someone sits back and they're answering this question to say, yeah, I think things are going well. I think things feel good, and that's certainly a welcome message to the economic development community here in this area, because once again it kind of says, okay folks, what you're doing, that's the right thing. Your strategies are working. Keep doing what you're doing. You don't need to really step back and reassess in any major way, although we're always updating and always forming new partnerships and always adjusting. But basically, what you've been doing is working. It's continuing to work, and that's always a good thing to hear. I'm going to call on the Chamber Chair, John Vermette, and then our Government Affairs Chair, Alex Berry, for some thoughts on this. John, Alex, come on up.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for braving the cold weather and coming out. As you can see, Yuri did a great job of comparing the 2 years, telling you the focus of the community and how focused we really are with, as you can see from a broad perspective of what not only the state but on the federal level, we're looking at improving NAFTA 2.2. Getting that signed, getting that agreed upon between both Canada and the U.S. is really paramount. Paramount to a lot of us that are Canadian based or own companies working here in the U.S., getting steel and other paper products and things of that nature back and forth across the border. Very critical to our continued success. If you look at it from a local level, again, you can see the focus is on something near and dear to me is workforce development and workforce training. It's very critical, very important. So this collaboration, the groups, I see there are a lot of local groups that are typically coming together. It's very important to our continued success. This is a good sign to see that it's up just a little bit, but 4% up over last year. Last year was a fantastic year for 2018. This is really kind of the base of the organizations here in Plattsburgh looking at themselves and moving forward because there's a need to move forward. We want to continue that need, and prosperity and things of that nature, opportunity, this area certainly lends itself well for a lot of reasons. So I won't take up too much more of your time. I just wanted to let you know from a business leader perspective here in Plattsburgh, it doesn't really get a lot better than where we are right now. Plenty of opportunities to come. It's going to create a lot of challenges for sure, but I'm hopeful that that we'll see even bigger and better things in 2019.
Thanks, Alex.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I know we have a couple other speakers this morning. But I think it's very clear that the number we've seen today is absolutely astonishing. Business confidence in the North Country has rarely been higher. And I can personally attest to this. As a commercial real estate broker, we often find ourselves in the front lines of new business and economic development. In fact, we've actually started this year out with quite a large number of prospects looking to expand here right in Killington County. So it should be quite obvious, if it wasn't before, that business in the North Country is booming. Our elected officials, our economic development team, especially the Chamber of Commerce, and the entire business community could all stand up and take a bow and be justifiably very proud of their success. So congratulations to all concerned.
Thanks, Alex. I'm going to hold questions until after we do both parts, and then we'll have everybody up here and answer questions, and then have press availability to the side as well at the end. But there you have it with the issue survey and the Business Confidence Index. And now we have a very gratifying announcement from the Chamber and the Development Corporation together. I'm going to let Paul come up and tell you about this, because you've seen enough of me here for a while. So Paul Grasso, come on up here and share with folks the news that we have to share with them today on a very important finding that reaffirms why they are wise to be saying they're confident.
Good morning. Yesterday, Polycom from Palm City, Florida, is an economic development research company, and they rank every year all of the metropolitan and micropolitan areas in the country. We are a micropolitan area that requires you to have an urbanized area, the city of Plattsburgh, and with at least 10,000 people, no more than 50,000. And there are 551 of those areas in the country, and they announced yesterday that Plattsburgh was ranked 40th among those areas. But the real important thing is that they're ranked number one in the state of New York. So there are 14 areas in the state, and we were ranked number one. They define, and they base it on economic strength, and they define economic strength as a long-term tendency of an area to consistently grow in size and quality. And they look at, not annual rankings, they look at the data over a 20-year period. And so they just see whether or not you're able to sustain that growth, and there's not just one event that comes in that makes you pop out. And they're using information from the Regional Economic Information System, which is a Department of Commerce, Bureau of Labor Statistics. They use 23 different data points. I didn't even attempt to get into them. I'll leave that to my friend Colin, the economist, because he'll never be able to figure it out otherwise. But it's important to note that they tell you what you did and not how you did it. And I think we all know the why we're successful. And it's because of the collaboration and the cooperation between the different entities. The Chamber, TDC, the town, the county, the city, all working together to improve our economic and community development outputs. Because at the end of the day, when you're looking at the work that we do, it's nice to talk about Norsk Titanium coming or another company expanding, but the real goal is to improve the quality of life for the residents. And that's what it all boils down to. The end result of all those companies being attracted to this region really means that the quality of life here is much better. And it's also an affirmation, along with the FDI rankings, that our economic development strategies are sound, they're working, we're doing the right things in the right ways. And so this is really gratifying, and it's a testament to the collaboration that we have in this area. And I think it's I know coming from a large metropolitan area, San Diego, you don't see that level of cooperation. I mean, they'll always have a good economy, but you don't see the level of cooperation and collaboration that you do. It's very siloed. Here it's not. And it was one of the things that really impressed me when I got here 10 or 11 years ago. So that's it.
Thank you. Sue? Can you distribute these?
Sure.
Goes to everybody. And then Paul, stay up here. I'm going to ask Bobby Hall from the county legislature and the Mayor Reed and Supervisor Cashman to all come up and each in turn offer some reaction from their jurisdictions. Bob?
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, everyone. When I agree, thank you for coming out in this cold weather. From a business point of view, I'd like to say that I think we have something unique right now going on in the town of Plattsburgh, the city of Plattsburgh, and the county. When you try to go into business in the North Country, the paperwork is unbelievable anywhere, not just the North Country. And we have a mayor and a city council, town supervisor, and a town board, and a Coon County legislature that we work together to try to make it a lot easier. We want businesses to come here. And I think that's a main factor in getting people to come here by trying to work with them, not against them. Also, as you know, I'm the chairman of the airport, and I'm very proud of it. We're bringing more people in here all the time from Washington. It's amazing how that flight United, excuse me, United Express is doing. We're very proud of it. And I can tell you, Customs is going to open up in April. We're going to have more flights, and we're looking at the Caribbean, we're looking at Paris, and there's going to be some good announcements this summer. And I think things are looking up for Plattsburgh and the town and the county. And let me say this finally, and then I'll get out of here. I don't think there's a greater place to live than Plattsburgh, New York, and Clinton County. I've left Plattsburgh twice, came back twice, and I'm not going anywhere anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
Don?
Thank you very much. Appreciate all of your comments. You know, this is absolutely no accident. As Paul had mentioned, this is a track record of looking at data over 20 years. This is no flash in the pan. This is something that our community manages to figure out a way to work together, whereas a lot of other communities are siloed. I think they're sinking the siloed communities, whereas we're rising to the occasion because we can work together. This tradition is going to continue. It's very exciting. A lot more exciting news to come, I'm sure. But it's not a coincidence, again. It's because of the hard work of a number of organizations, primarily the Chamber and the TDC, in bringing this all together, taking us out to a much broader world than we could ever penetrate individually. So I really think there's a lot of credit to go around this. Thank you, Gary, and Paul, for all the work you do. Let me turn it over to my colleague. Thanks, Mr. Cashman.
First and foremost, congratulations to the Chamber and the TDC for just being the powerhouse that you folks are and driving a lot of this for us through partnerships. The town of Plattsburgh is really pleased to play its part in the trajectory of what's been going on, along with our partners, the Chamber, TDC, the county, the city. You know, we believe in a shared vision, and that's the most critical part of it. The shared vision is to build about a strong economy, but as Paul has said, it's about making sure that we have a community, a region, municipalities that are a great place to live, work, and play. And we have the good fortune to be here all 4 seasons, and there's lots of activity. We want to draw more people into this region to see what's going on, but we also want to make sure that people understand that it's a wonderful place to invest in as well. So as we move forward, we look forward to future partnerships, future opportunities, but let's take a moment here to relish the good work that's been done in the past. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, partners. I'll keep everybody here, and if you want to ask any questions of us while we're gathered up here, we'll take those now, and then we'll all be available afterwards as well on the side. Yes?
How important is the Business Confidence Index to businesses that are looking to move to Clinton County or potentially expand? I mean, do they request this data?
I don't know that they request the data, but it becomes something we certainly talk about because businesses, residents, whatever, want to be where people feel good. It's an indicator that, gee, if people feel that good, maybe this is a good place. So it certainly is helpful because it's an expression, a very strong expression in the case of the Business Confidence Index of the businesses that are here, that they feel darn good about what's going on here. So maybe that's a very good place for my business to be, because it means I'm likely to perform well too, as they seem to be. So it certainly is a powerful finding. We certainly use it in marketing and meetings throughout the year, and now we'll certainly be using the economic strength ranking by Polycom as well. As you know, and this isn't just a feeling. Here's something that actually backs it up from the actual numbers, that they're right to feel that. You put those two things together, that's a powerful indicator. Paul, you want to?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we use it at TDC, and a lot of times one of the best features we have in marketing property is having them talk to a tenant, talk to them about what it's like to do business here. And I think it's very helpful, and this data just makes it a lot easier for us to do it.
Were you guys aware that Polycom was doing an analysis of the region?
No, it's new to our attention really this year. They're a highly respected national firm, and as I noted earlier, one of the important things about their findings is that there are some things where we are asked to do a lot of submissions and submit narratives and data and so on. We do so accurately, but we are part of what is submitted for consideration. This isn't one of those kinds of analyses. They are looking strictly at federal data. And then they have a set formula that weighs that. And there's no variances in that. There's no additional data provided. And then are doing so looking back over 20 years and weighing it that way. So they're not looking at it as being kind of a spike, perhaps, but really looking at and averaging and a weighting over a number of years from indisputable, federally gathered data, which makes it really highly credible, because it isn't something that could be influenced in some way by what somebody may have done a better job of submitting data than somebody else did. It really is the data itself. Paul, you want to?
Yeah, Polycom has only recently, maybe within the last 5 to 10 years, actually released the data. They say by popular demand, because as communities were seeing what the data was, everyone wanted to know what the rankings were. So this was originally an internal exercise for them in terms of their marketing for economic analysis. So we didn't know, and so recently it was just, I got an email on Thursday or Wednesday saying they were going to release them. So
The timing was perfect.
When you take a look at the Business Confidence Index, 96% both years, so it's really, if they're increasing business or maintaining a steady business. When you're at 96%, there's not a lot of leeway before you get to that 100% that you were mentioning. I mean, what can the businesses look for, as to how they're going to expand or how they're going to, expand that confidence to bring the number up maybe to 97 or 98?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I expressed this last year, and some of them, they proved me wrong at least a little bit. But you certainly reach a point where, you're kind of at the ultimate level of confidence, because there's always going to be some who aren't confident. There's always going to be some businesses that for various reasons in the marketplace or whatever, aren't doing well right now. So you can never have 100%. So you get to 96% or you get to 79% believing their business is going up. And my expectation is that would be very hard to get any higher than that. On the other hand, let's say in the next few years you see 79% go down 72%. Well, that's still going to be pretty darn strong. So we're just kind of in a territory that I don't think even any shift one way or another in a couple of those internal numbers matters much unless you get a significant drop. Now, there is going to be a national recession one of these days. Cycles haven't stopped for all time. They're going to be, how is it 10 years out? Is it 2 years out? So there will come that point, and then we'll be looking at kind of gauging that relative to what is kind of happening around us and elsewhere. But it would be very hard to, as I said last year, it would be very hard to see those numbers get any stronger. Now let's see if you prove me wrong a year from now. Yes?
Yeah, I have one. What does it mean for the employees of these businesses that their employers are more confident in the growth of the local economy?
Well, they're hiring. And we're starting to see wage elevation nationally, and I know we're seeing it locally as well. I know anecdotally, we're seeing it here in the area as well. That people are experiencing higher wages or an opportunity to step up to a higher paying position because they're putting more of those kinds of positions online. So it means that you see that reflected in the consumer confidence in spending, which is what really directly explains the increase in sales tax revenue, whether it's a Canadian consumer coming down or certainly local consumers as well, what's happening in the retail sector, hotel occupancy, all of those things is part of what shows they're experiencing in the house. Not everybody, it'll never be 100%, but certainly there's something going on below the surface that it is affecting rank and file employees with job opportunities and income.
It is also stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, if your employer is confident, the business is going to be less stressful that they're worried about losing another contract or something.
That was going to be part of a question I had. As far as wages are never part of your questionnaire to the businesses as to whether their wages are going up. You know, retaining a workforce is very important, and you know, there's jobs and then there's jobs. So it's never asking about the wage situation.
We do an internal survey of our employers for their own use that we also make some use of with newcomers coming in about wages and benefits and personnel policies and so on, but that's not the public release. You're not typically going to get any employer, whether it's a restaurant on the corner or a large company, to give you much information about what they're paying and what they're doing, both for competitive reasons and other things. But we do know out there that the household income is edging up. There's been some delay in that, given the tightness of the workforce, but it's happening. It was bound to start happening.
Now, our unemployment rate is very low, but we've seen that New York State has been losing people. How's Clinton County, how's our immediate area doing as far as population?
Are you doing better than most? And I think maybe Colin might want to touch on that. You're a great statistician.
You know, we talked about this at the chamber gathering about a week ago. We all assembled about 10 years ago under the TDC, and Tori was involved with it, something called Vision 2040. We looked and did some projections ahead, and it looked like we were going to suffer like a lot of the other counties in the state were suffering, a net exodus of people. But I just looked at that data again just a couple of weeks ago, and in the last 10 years we've made progress, and now it's estimated that our population is holding its own very nicely compared to it, and especially compared to other counties, as you said, that are losing population. So I think that's just a testament that's reinforced by all these other pieces of data we're seeing today.
Yeah, so the unemployment figures aren't being micros going smaller because people are leaving, they're looking for jobs.
Not here in our area.
Yeah,
that is part of the reason elsewhere, but not here.
Yeah,
and if anything, we're beyond full employment. This unemployment rate is very low. And there's some reasons that you're always going to have some unemployment where we've got seasons up here. There's people who are seasonally unemployed, etc. So to have a rate of 3.4% really indicates that this is a very strong economy up here.
And I think if you look at people posting applications, looking for workers, it's obvious that people want to work. There's lots of jobs out here in our area. One final question. Could you define the areas for each, the micro, whatever that is, micropolitan area? Is that
defined as Clinton County?
Clinton County, so it's not just Plattsburgh, it's Clinton County.
Clinton County.
And then the chamber, you've got 4,000 members.
That's our service area. That's Clinton, Franklin, Essex, Hamilton, and Northern Warren.
Okay, so that's the whole region. Okay.
All right, with that, we'll break up. It will be available to those of you who want to have a further chat or interviews with us. And thank you all for coming. And Sue, I remember a summary of the Business Confidence Index and the issue survey results.
And here's a look at the area served by the North Country Chamber of Commerce, 4,000 employers, actually more than 4,000 employers across Clinton, Franklin, Essex, Hamilton, Northern Warren, and Akwesasne.